Hi everybody. Today we're going to walk through the assignments work that we've been doing. I'm going to sort of start from scratch. I've given a little bit of foundation for it so that you don't have to watch that whole part. We'll start by doing it sort of the way we'd been doing it the other day, building the object in line, and then I'll show you how to translate that into working with it with a constructor, and that'll demonstrate one of the advantages we can get out of it. So far I have this page right here, just says assignments at the top. Has a little bit of a border there, and then this new button. And I've hooked this new button up to display this form. You're welcome to look into the replit to demonstrate that, or to see how that's done if you need a refresher on that. It's got new assignment heading, and then labels for each of the inputs, a title, a start date, a due date, and a description. I know we talked about points instead of a start date. I should have added that, but I'm not going to at this point. I can press cancel to clear out, or this is rigged up to a save function that doesn't have anything in it yet. So our goal is to be able to establish some assignments and to be able to save them to local storage, bring them back, and have all the information together. And we could pretty easily add points to it once we see how this works. But I probably won't take your time to do that, let's be honest. So the first thing I want to do, I haven't quite finished wiring that up. Here's my form. Save new assignment is the function. So save new assignment. So I need to get all of these. So I'm just going to borrow from there. And we'll clear out that. Since I've already got a function to clear it out later, I don't really need to save that elsewise. So I can say var new title equals var new start date equals var new due date equals, and var new description equals. Okay, so I'm pulling the title out of txt assignment title. That's this one. Pulling the start date out of the next one, the due date out of that one, and the description out of that one. Okay, so var assignment equals, and then remember we use the curly braces to say we're putting together an object. It's going to have multiple properties. So title colon, so you do the property colon and then the value is going to be the new title, comma, start date is going to be new start date, due date is going to be new due date, and description will be new description. And for now, to demonstrate this, I'm just going to console.log assignment. Okay, so I reload, I say new, title will be this title, start date will be today, due date will be tomorrow, and description will be this description might be kinda long. Save. I might want to clear this out and refocus on the title, maybe. For now I'm going to inspect and see what we got in the console. We got an object, has a description of this description might be kind of long, a due date of 2020-11-18, a start date of 11-17, and a title of this title. So that's pretty good. And then what I want to do is have an array to hold all of my assignments. Okay, we're going to leave it as an empty array for now, and when we save an assignment, we're going to push that on there. And then I will console.log the whole assignment set. One of the advantages to not clearing out that form right now after I save is that it'll make it easier to add a bunch and see how that array is working. So I reload, I say new, array title we're going to start, and we'll keep on starting today and finishing tomorrow. That way I can tell that my start and end dates are working. Arrayed description. Save. Inspect. Go to the console. I see that now I have an array, and its 0 element is that. If I come here and say array title 2 and save, we now have 2 items in an array. 0 is array title, and 1 is array title 2. So we're getting our array. That's good. The next thing that we probably want to do is make sure that we are, we could work on displaying first, and then we can save to storage. The advantage to saving to storage first is I don't have to enter them every time. So I'm going to save to storage first. The nice thing about working with objects and JSON, remember that JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, is that it'll take an array of objects and encode them just like it did an array of strings. We don't have to do any extra work. It looks exactly like it did before. Later on, we'll add a little work to pull them into fully realized objects instead of just a list of properties, but we'll talk about that later. So I'm going to start by saving. Save assignments. Var JSON assignments equals JSON.stringify assignments. And then we're going to say local storage dot set item assignments. And every time that we do this push, we're going to save assignments. We'll go ahead and run this, make sure that it's saving okay by looking into the assignments portion, and then, or not the assignments portion, the local storage in the inspect. And then we'll know that we're ready to start loading. Okay, so we'll shrink this up a little bit. We'll reload. Right now, let's look in my application. Local storage. I got nothing for this one. Okay, so I say new ls assignment. We're going to stick with that today date. Later on, when I'm sort of stress testing this, I'll want to change those dates and make sure I'm not getting a result that makes sense only because of some other reason, right? Description will be local storage description. Save. Oh, look at that. Assignments. Object. It knows there's an object, and if I look here, that doesn't really tell me much. So it's not going to give me all the details, but it's pretty good. Okay. Let's do ls assignment 2. Let's go ahead and do this for the 2nd and the May 20th of 2021. So we're going to a different year. 2. Save. So we know that it's there. We don't know what these objects are here at this point. It's not giving me a good way to see that. But that's okay. We at least know that it's saving and that there are 2. That's good. All right. Now let's go ahead and load assignments. So now we do it backwards. What's stored in local storage is, oh, that's why I'm not seeing anything. JSON assignments is what we want. See, I missed that. How many of you were already catching that and wondering what I was doing wrong? All right. Reload, new, title, ls JSON assignment. We're going to go 17th, 20th, JSON assignments, save. Now in here we can see it as JSON. Okay, that's good. I like that better. And if I do 2 and 2, and let's push this one into 2021 somewhere and save. There we go, that's in 2021, so that's looking pretty good. I like that result a lot better. Makes a lot more sense. All right, cancel that. Now we're going to go back and we're going to load those assignments. Now we're going to do it backwards. We're getting it as JSON. We need to parse it back to the object and apply it to the assignments array as needed. So var JSON assignments equals local storage dot get item assignments. Okay, so this time we have out of local storage we want to get it by that key, and we want those keys to match. If JSON assignments equals null, that is if that was empty, then we're just going to say assignments is an empty square brackets. Otherwise, assignments is going to equal JSON.parse JSON assignments. Okay, I'm going to pause and come back in a second. Okay, so we've grabbed it from local storage. We now are parsing it as JSON assignments. The next thing we would want to do is display, but I'm just going to test right now and see what we get. Every time we sort of add a new feature, we're trying to test it out and make sure that that feature is working the way that we want it to. Okay. Oh, and I haven't called it yet. See, I can go to console and see that, but I realized it. I haven't called it yet. I've just created a function. I want to do that in window onload. So I'm going to say window.onload equals function. And then the first thing that I want to do is load assignments. And I started typing, and I knew my cursor was in the window onload function. So I started typing and it just went from where it was, even though I'd scrolled away. Sorry about that. It was not very clear. So that should call it on load, and then we should be good. Okay, and now we've got those two assignments, and they're those JSON assignments that we did last. So now we're able to get that object from storage. Okay, the next thing that we want to do is display the assignments. Okay. So this part here, I'm going to start commenting some of this stuff. Local storage stuff. This is form stuff here, right? Okay. And then I want some display assignments stuff. Very technical term there, right? So I'm be here. So I want a function display assignments, and in here I want to loop through the assignments. Array. I need to get an element for that assignment, and I need to append it to a container. And I don't think I even have a container yet. So let's start by adding that. Below the nav, which I never really closed, I want to have a div id equals assignment detail. We'll call it that. I haven't styled anything up or anything, but what I picture is a box that has a heading of the title, start date, and due date, and a description. So I've got 4 elements in there right now. Coming back, assignment detail is my container. So, and before I loop through, I want to get and clear the container. So var container equals document. I'm going to use that ID. What did I call that? Assignment detail. And I'm going to clear it out by just saying its inner HTML is nothing. Okay? And then when I loop through that array, I might want access to the index to make it so that I can delete it or change it from its spot in the array. So what I will do is I will say for var I for index equals 0, I is less than assignments.length I plus plus. Now inside of this is where I need to do these things. And I don't want to create each element in here because there are other times when I might want to create an element. So I'm going to call function render assignment, and I'm going to take the assignment as an argument. So var assignment, EL assignment, that's what we'll call it, equals document.create. We'll just create a div, EL assignment, nope, var title equals document.create element h1, and then title.innerHTML. And this is where objects become really valuable. So far they could just be loose variables and it wouldn't make much difference. But here where we start actually using that information is where it's valuable, because I'm going to call it by its properties. So when I created each assignment, I gave it these properties: title, start date, due date, and description. Now I can reference them by that. Equals assignment.title. Var start date equals document.create element span. Start date dot inner HTML equals assignment dot start date. I'm going to borrow those because I'm going to do it again, but with due date, and assignment dot due date. And then var description is going to be document. I'm going to use this one as a div because it might be long. Description dot inner HTML equals assignment dot description. And then I need to do that part where now I need to append them to the parent one, so they're all part of one div, and then return that. So I'm going to return EL assignment by the time I'm done. And the order I do this in matters because that's the order they're going to appear within the HTML that gets returned. EL assignment dot append child title. We'll append the start date. And finally the description. Okay, so that should let me render something. And I do want to test this. But the way I'd test it would be the same way that I'm going to end up doing it in the loop. So I'm just going to do it in the loop and see what happens. Var EL equals render assignment assignments I container.append child EL. Now I haven't styled this at all. I haven't added class lists, but it should at least show up, right? And ideally, I'll get 2 right off the bat because those are sitting there in local storage, right? So if I reload, and I haven't called it. Again, the big problem, I do all the code in and then I don't call it. So on load, I want to load assignments and then I want to display assignments. I don't necessarily want load assignments to do that for me, though usually that'll be the case. But it might be possible that I'd want to load them and not display all of these. I might instead choose to just list them on the side and make you choose from a title, or do a completely different structure. So this will get us started anyway. We'll reload. We run into a problem. EL assignment.append child is not a function because I didn't capitalize the C there. And the line is script.js line 35. See that? I got it right 3 times out of 4. Luckily, the console helps me out. There we go, and it has added them both. Obviously, we want to style that up some, but that's pretty good for getting along. And maybe I'll take a few moments a little later on to style it and speed up that portion of the video, because you don't need to see all that. So now when I do new, I'm going to want to display assignments again, right? I could render that new assignment. So let's talk about that index. As I loop through it, I grab that EL, and I could do el.dataset.index equals I. Okay. And then when I do a new assignment, I could do it separately. Instead of going through and reloading the whole thing, I could, after I've saved the assignment, say var el equals render assignment el dot dataset dot index is going to be assignments dot length -1, because remember that arrays start with a 0 index. So that means the top array will be 1 less than the number, or the top index will be 1 less than the number of items in there. So if there's 1 item in there, its index is 0. If there are 2 items, the top index is 1, and so on. And then we'll go, let's take that container out. Command X, Command V, and we're going to paste it again here, because before we load the thing, var container, it doesn't know about the document object model. So we declare it. I'm going to get rid of that var too. We declare it here to make it a global, accessible everywhere, and we assign it here. If I left that var in, it would create another instance of that container variable, and they'd be completely different things, and I'd run into all kinds of troubles. So that should work. So then I should be able to say container.appendChild el. This is not the cleanest. It sort of duplicates code. It might be better to go in and redo the whole list. But there it is. All right. Let's see how we're doing there. Reload. I've got my items. I do a new one. Create on fly. This is going to be back in August and not due until next August. Ooh, you get a whole year to do this assignment. A whole year. And I save. And create on fly. Works. Again, not very pretty, but there it is. Okay. So that takes care of it working with that object as an object that's created in the moment. So display assignment stuff is there. The form stuff. Save new assignment is here. So we created the object here. And that's all the code that takes. There might be other times when we want to create an object, and if we can encapsulate our code, it's a lot better. We put it all together and everything works well. So I'm going to create another script. Add a file, and I'm going to call it assignment with a capital A.js. This is how we would do an object. And this is what we call a constructor. So this is going to create an object. Notice that capital. By convention, object types start with a capital letter. in order to create a function, we need a title, we need a start date, an end date, and a description. Even if they're empty, that's fine. We could put some logic in there, but this dot title equals title. This dot start date equals start date. This dot end date equals end date. One of the great things about working with objects in this way is that I don't have to worry so much about the user interface, what that screen looks like. This object will largely function without worrying about the container or the form or anything like that. It's going to create an object and send it back. I don't even have to say return. It's just this. So then when I create it, first off, in the index, I have to include that other script. So I say script source equals script / assignment.js. Excuse me. So that should take care of that. And then in here, instead of doing this work right here, I say, I'm going to get rid of this. Command C, Command slash, because what I actually want is var assignment equals new assignment, new title, new start date, new due date, and new description. I didn't need all that after all. Okay, so I do it in one line. I send it that stuff. If I need additional logic to protect the assignment, I would put it in here and do things with, I can throw errors or send back null or whatever I have to make sure that assignments aren't created that don't make any sense. Think about expenses with negative amounts, right? When we were doing expenses, if you allowed negative amounts, somebody might be able to put in their own pocket some additional money. We don't want that. Okay, so if I did this right, when I reload, it still works just fine. That's what we want. Console.log new assignment created. So I'm doing this so that we can see that this is where that new assignment is coming from. Reload. But it's not, because that's not how it's happening. Notice that this is where a little bit of additional work happens. We're going to demonstrate this first. OBJ assignment. And I don't care about due dates. I'm convinced that those are just fine now. I should do some logic to make sure that those aren't backwards. And should do some logic to make sure the dates aren't backwards. Save. So new assignment created. So that was done there, and it works out very similarly. Now, the big advantage that comes from doing it this way is that I can also say this dot render equals function. So I'm going to have each object have its own render function so that we just call it on that. So if I come into here and I take my render assignment, there we go. I don't need the assignment that goes. Command C. We'll get rid of it later. Command V. I want to indent this stuff. Okay. And then instead of assignment, I want it to be this dot title, and this dot start date, and this dot due date, and this dot description, and then we're going to return the EL assignment. Okay. And then I come back here and I can get rid of my render assignment function. Come on. I'm just going to comment it out for now so we don't mess up. And here, instead of rendering assignment, I'm just going to say EL equals assignments I, so that is an assignment dot render. So now it's a method of an assignment that creates that object for us. The other piece of work that I have to do with this is going to error out. I'll do that, demonstrate that. It no longer does anything because what happens is when I grab the assignments out of, this is where the extra work comes from. When I grab the assignments out of local storage, they are just those properties. It doesn't save those methods. So what I need to do is loop through the assignments in that and create those objects separately. Loaded assignments, and this is where I messed up during class this morning, is that I could not remember the exact syntax for a for each loop. So let's look that up to make sure I'm right. JavaScript for each loop array. Okay. So I can say I don't think that's the one I'm really looking for. That is not the one I'm looking for. Array.forEach, call back this argument, that's all. Okay, so for each, I believe it was the of that counted. I don't want the array prototype, so let's get rid of the word array there. There we go. The for loop, 444, 444, for x in person, for variable of iterable. There we go, for x of cars, and it's declared earlier on that one. So I say for var assignment of assignments, of loaded assignments. And I'm going to do these in separate pieces. Var new assignment equals new assignment. Assignment.title, assignment.startDate, assignment.dueDate, assignment.description. Assignments.push new assignment. So I have to go through this process in order to connect the methods for the object. And if there's only one, it might not seem like it's worthwhile, but oftentimes objects grow well beyond it, and it does a nice job of encapsulating the code, as I said before, and putting information about assignments and methods about assignments all together. So there we go. That should help me out a bunch. Let's reload and see how we do. Loaded assignments is not defined. I'm in the wrong file now. Of course I have to say var. That's that option strict or use strict helping me out. Reload. Line 97. It's that spelling thing again now. Assignments. I'm going to get tired of that word by the time this is done, aren't I? And assignment is not defined on line 99, so now we do some debugging. That should be an S. Reload, and now it's working, right? Okay, so the advantage to doing it as a separate piece is that we've got a function that generates everything. It can apply the business logic. Everything that wants to create an assignment goes through it. I don't need this piece anymore. I can have a function to generate that piece, and I can, in my other script, take this big batch of code and just wipe it out. Okay? So that is how we use an external object, a constructor, to create the object and return it. Notice we don't have a return statement in this. It just, because it is this special kind of function, this constructor assignment that we can get at with that new keyword, it works fine. So that's what we're looking at. I think this is in a private replit right now. I'll shift everything over to a public one for you, and you'll be all set. I'll take just a couple of seconds here as we go out to style that piece up a little bit. We'll put a flexible on that. Arrow div. Width 2 pixels, border 1 pixel, solid white gray, shadow 2 pixels, 2 pixels, gray. There we go. We've got some margin 10 pixels. There we go. That's a little better. So border radius a little bit. 10 pixels. I like that a little bit, and we'll put a little padding here. We shrink that up and things go that way. The padding has a nice effect. Oh, it's a little bit here. That's there. There we go. Let's drop some heat in there. Go with the round shadow there. Reload. Yeah, I got it there. Let's get that 1 pixel. There's that well. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right. I'd want to spread those around. Oh, the undefined is not, something's not working about that due date. Made a mistake. Better. Alright, we should throw this fans out. We could do design detail in separate styles as well. Make sure that's the within there. There we go. There we go. 31. Okay. There it is, everybody. Oh, it didn't work. Render assignment is not defined. One more thing to fix. We're really done. Today. Also due today. Maybe? Say it with confidence. Like you mean it. Save. There we go. Alright. That's it.